Welcome to Unity DAO. This is our 7th episode. This episode we'll be talking about the Botswana I love. And I will share with you personal experiences of places I've visited in this country. The last episode, I promised you a happy episode, I think. Well, if I didn't promise you that, then I'm promising you, I'm going to deliver a happy episode. The last one wasn't so happy. So let's mix happiness with a bit of reality. The Botswana I love. I raised my children in Muchudi, in Rasurura, Muchudi, Botswana. And when we first moved to Rasurura, it was the edge of the village. People won't believe it. It was about like 40 years ago that we were living there. We first moved there. It was the edge of the village. There was no power. There was water. And for 2 years, actually, we used candles, to light at night, and use, of course, gas to cook. It took 2 years for us to get power in Rasurura at the time. But, those were fun years. My children were young, and we just loved to travel this country. What we would do almost every holidays, especially in August, the August school holidays were the longest. We take out a map and we would decide where we would go. The kids would decide, are we going to Tuli Block? Are we going to Makadekari Pants? Are we going to Mabuya Sohube? Are we going to CKGR? Are we going to Kakasani? So at the end, we would agree, depending on where the last visit was, we decide on a destination. And of course, we're talking about when maybe 30 years ago, when Timisang would have been 10, for example, the roads were bad, but the kids loved them. In fact, over time, when the kids were being tired, they would complain, oh, these roads are not fun anymore, because we didn't get stuck in the sand, etc. But, so the Botswana I love is the Botswana of, all these places. I can tell you stories of camping in the Kalahari, for example. I can tell you stories of camping in the Delta, for example, or the edge of the Delta, because at North Gate, South Gate, crossing the rickety bridges that feel like your Land Rover is just going to tip over. And those were really fun days, fun years. And so let me tell you 2 particular stories about this Botswana I love. That's the wild Botswana I love. The fauna of this country, the animals of this country, just really the beautiful landscape, the grasslands, the salt pans, the amazing delta. Let me tell you a couple of stories that you may find fun. One trip, I believe we were camping at North Gate. When in the morning we find that the baboons have stolen obviously all your food, and even stolen one of the backpacks of the kids. You see it at the top of the tree. Of course, that means that it's going to be a very tough trip, because you can't just go to the store to replenish your meals. And one particular trip, I remember traveling with. I've always as a lawyer, had interns from Botswana and abroad during coming to work with me as externs or interns, as part of their legal training. So let me tell you this particular trip. I'm with a woman called Penny. Penny, if you are there listening, remember that. I will not exaggerate because it's totally true. And Henry, we called him H, for example, and other campers. Of course, these trips, we are not staying in hotels, okay? For you to go on this trip, you need to pack up a whole camping gear. You need a tent, you need sleeping bags, you need a thin mattress, I mean, you need your food, for example, you need petrol for days, because of those days you couldn't just, petrol stations were few and far between. So we are camping at, I think this was a third bridge, not a third bridge. And so we're camping there. In the morning, I hear somebody saying from the car, "Guys, I wouldn't get out of the tent right now. We are surrounded by lions." The small voice, they're talking from my car. That's my car, okay? I've taken these people camping. She's talking from the safety of my car. She's only telling me when she's already in the car and I'm still in the tent, and she's telling us she wouldn't get out of the tent right now because we're surrounded by lions. I'm thinking, oh Lord. And I realized that, almost everybody has run into the car. I guess I'd been driving the previous night. I was tired, so I slept. I didn't even hear everybody like running towards the car. So I'm sitting there thinking we are surrounded by lions. That's not a really good situation. You know how tents have got two zips? There's the one, you can open one zip and there's still a gauze. And then you can, so that to stop mosquitoes coming in, flying insects. And then of course, then the other. So I'm trying to open just one zip so there can still be a gauze so I can see what's outside. And zip this tent, the whole thing collapses, the whole door collapses, opens. And right in front of me are 3 lions sitting there. So I zip it up again. Because I'm thinking, okay, I think I am going to be toast at this level. So I'm thinking, okay, what I'm going to do? So I'm nervous. When you're nervous, you do, So I tried, okay, grab the right zip because I want to zip it again so I can still see them, hoping they cannot see me. And when I open, by mistake, I open again the main zip and the whole thing collapses and I'm facing the lions and they're facing me. Just chilling, 3 of them sitting under a tree, literally no more than 3 meters from me. And the car is beyond them. And so in there, I hear, oh, what is she going to do? What is she going to do? They are safe in a metal box. I am in a canvas box. I don't see that's fair. Seeing that this is actually my car, and I'm sure even that tents were my tents. I cannot remember that. So I'm thinking, what can I do? So I put on my shoes. I don't know why. You have to do something. You can't just, if you're frightened, you have to do something with your energy. Otherwise, So I put on my shoe, and I tie it, very carefully. I put on my other shoe. I tie it very, very carefully. I'm still thinking, what am I going to do with these lions sitting right there between me and my car? So finally, I unzip the tent and then sprint across my car. But as I stand up, I trip on the opening of the tent doorway and I fall. And as I fall, these lions stand up, they started and they run away. I guess all along they were not seeing me. I've never been so tired. Fear exhausts you. You feel tired. And so that was that trip. On another trip, with this woman she was an intern, she's a lawyer now in Australia, and the other lady came from Canada. Again, students who come to work with me for their summer, my winter, which was, I've been doing that for more than 30 years. In fact, I believe there are more than 30 lawyers out there, maybe 35, who have worked with me. So if you ever sue me anywhere in the world, know there's a lawyer somewhere willing to protect me. So don't dare. If I defame me, if I do anything, do not dare. I have a lawyer in Australia, in Canada, in the US, in the UK. So please, in Botswana as well. Young students who are now famous lawyers doing great work. So anyway, I digress. Let me tell you about the story of Karen and what was the name again? The lady from Canada. I'll remember them in a minute. So we decided to go on a trip. I loved camping. I used to love camping. I love cooking outside. In fact, just for the record, I am one of the best cooks in the bush. I thought I should put it out there. I make the best bread, the best omelets in the bush. So, I'm just a very good cook in the bush. So we go on those trip. And I was working in Wetsho at the time. So we take the work car. It was a double cab, nice white car, funded by some donor somewhere. So we decided, okay, it's a great trip. Let's go into the bush. And again, we went to the Delta. We also through Maung, enter through South Gate, camp at Third Bridge. The following day we wake up, we're going to North Bridge because we were driving right through the Delta all the way to Kasane. It used to be a beautiful trip, beautiful, beautiful. We see all kinds of animals. You see, it's just wild. Sometimes you don't see anybody for days. Well, in the middle of nowhere, we come across a lion, so not a lion, an elephant and a baby elephant. And the others have crossed. And this mother decides she's not having it. She wants us to go. She's standing there. I mean, she's literally, I mean, I can see, I'm driving, she's on the passenger's side. Okay, I'm driving, Karen sitting there, the other lady sitting in the back, and this elephant is just standing there. You know, when I try to move, it just, you know, it wants to charge. It's flapping its ears. Just, I move, it moves. By the time my foot is like this on the, because I know that I cannot move, I must rev the engine. I'm revving the engine. You know, that's what I do, because the more, if I rev the engine, you know, I have a chance. If I move, it's totally me. And I'm thinking, this is a work car. I'm not too so insured against elephant charges. I can't remember what the insurance says. I don't know if I can even be taken to the bush. I can't remember whether I should be driving it into the bush. You know, oh, I'm thinking about all kinds of scenarios here, you know. You know, so, and every time I try to move, the elephant moves. So we are there, the two of them, it's ooh, ooh. The lady from Kana was a counselor, okay? So she was a social worker. So she thinks she can calm everybody down. So I'm saying, shut the whatever up, you know. The American lady is opening the window. She opens the window. And the Canadian says, shut, you know, close the window, close the window. So she says, if you open the window, if it smashes the window, we're going to cut it by glass. So it's better for this, just whip you in the face. I mean, we don't know whether it's better for the elephant to whip you in the face directly, or should the glass is better, you know. So, and this one says, look confident, look calm, because it can sense your fear. How do you know? I mean, we're telling it, shut up, you know, because the more we speak, we think the elephant can hear us. We're quarreling about this. In the meantime, my foot is like wobbling. When I try to move, the elephant comes. I stop again, rev the engine. Whenever I rev the engine, it moves back, a little back. Again, it moves back to safety, shooing its baby. This baby now is behind her, so the baby is kind of now. But every time I try to move, the elephant moves. Every time. So we are there for, I feel like hours. I'm sure it was like 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but we were there for a long time. My foot is really, really tired. I don't want to let go because I don't want the engine to die. I cannot move forward because it would certainly total us. You know, so trying to figure who's bigger here, the elephant or my car? Because of course, because I'm hoping the elephant can see the car, and that's who is afraid of, not the people inside. Because people are too small. So as long as they think we are big, as long as they think the car is the enemy, not the people inside, I think we are safe here. So after a while of this dance, we finally exhausted, and the elephant moves back. We move, it comes. So just now, I'm just revving the engine, revving the engine until it disappears, and then we drive off. I am exhausted. Then we go to North Gate, and I can tell you with that, we built the biggest fire ever built in the entire world. We each one of us had a tent, but we said it's safer if we are together. We have a chance, you know, like if a lion comes, 1 out of 3 a chance of survival, you know. So instead of being, you know, separate tents, so we said we sleep in one tent, and we built the biggest fire in front of this tent. Anybody who's been at North Gate knows that these huge stumps, you know, of trees that I'm sure like fell 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, I don't know. But nobody touched them because they are so huge. That day we dragged them. The 3 of us dragged them, built the biggest fire ever for safety, because fire is safety. So that was, do you think I ever went back? Of course I did. I can tell you the story of Timisang and an elephant at, what is a place called? But that's in Kasane, it's Kasane. I'll remember the name of that campsite as well. So one morning, again, camping. The kids are going to take a shower. The outdoor showers there, and Natasha and Chesha come running, and this shouting. Timisang is in the shower, and the elephant is blocking the way. So Timisang is inside the shower, and this elephant decided to drink the water from the shower because there was it was a dry year. So what did he do? So the child cannot get out of the shower. What they can see when they look up is the elephant tusks drinking the water from your tap. The elephant is blocking your way, you can't get out. But it's drinking the water from the shower. And of course, the father had to do something. So went there and literally dragged the child from under the belly of the elephant. He never liked elephants after that. If he sees it, Mom, why are you stopping? Why are you stopping? Just drive. He'll be just angry, even at meters away. It took him a long time for him to actually become a bit friendly with elephants. But with all that said, there are many, many stories of this country. There are beautiful stories. I can tell you the story of being in the middle of the salt pan as well. Having driven, saying, I'm tired, we need to sleep. I'm saying, we're sleeping in the car. My husband said, no, we're setting up at 10. I can't sleep in the car. We sleep in the car. If you set up at 10, you can sleep at 10 because I'm sleeping in the car. Oh, it's safe. And then as he just pushes the tent, a lion just passes next to it. Of course, he jumps back into the car and he's like, the woman was right. It's better to sleep in the car if you're in the bush than to try to set up a tent in the middle of the bush. But Botswana is a beautiful country. And if you have not visited it, I can tell you, when my kids were young, we camped everywhere. Like I said, the Tuli block we've been. I remember the Tuli block. It's an interesting story. I wonder where you are, the owner of that hotel. A client of mine once had a hotel just on the bank of the river in Tuli block, just at the border there. It was an abandoned hotel. It wasn't doing well, so he was selling it. So one day he said, "Oh, okay, you can go and use it." It was just buildings. The kitchen was almost like not there anymore. And I can tell stories of being there and they kind of have, the dangers you get into. Maybe I'm just like danger, I don't know. Or, some people say, look, I grew up poor in huts. There's absolutely no way my kind of holiday is a holiday in a tent in the bush. I want a hotel, because I've lived the bush. But for some reason, I'm always drawn to the bush, even though I was born poor, even though I lived in a hut. Still, I find a great attraction to that kind of life. So Botswana, if you have not been to any of these places, you need to go. You need to go because I can recall a trip. Once we took a trip through Kuze, through the CKGR, up to, the idea was to, and we did go out at Reikops, and then in the middle of the CKGR, we had only one Land Rover. What happens is I break down. In those days, literally, you could be days without anybody coming along. Days, before anybody coming along. So what do? Say maybe you have to camp there until hopefully somebody comes. On one such trip, when we actually had a breakdown, we decided, okay, somebody should walk to Reikops to look for help. Okay, we're close, we're beyond Kuise, we're in the CKGR, but the top part of the CKGR. Closer to Reikops, the other side, closer to the, what do they call? There's a valley there, I can't remember his name now. So the person, the men were going to do this because I'm not walking in the bush to go and get help at Reikops from the middle of the CKGR. So they had to draw lots, and the one who lost had to go. So he was given 6 beers because it's better to be eaten by a lion when you are drunk than you are sober, I think. Really, because then you won't feel the pain, I think. So we gave him 6 beers and then, for him to start walking. So he down 2 immediately and the 6th, and then he carries. The idea is that it's better to, you are more likely to go forward if you are drunk than to come back. So he had not gone far, he says, then he sees a lion coming, to cross his path. So you think, shoot, do I stop and let it cross? Do I hurry? And then he thinks I'm running, it comes up. So he says immediately down 2 of the beers, immediately, and just he said, okay, I think sobriety is not, a good thing right now. He said, but interestingly, the lion, he stops and the lion just walks right past him, in front of him, goes his way, and then he goes his way as well. A day later, we did get help. But it was a great trip. I should have written a book about these trips at the time. I didn't, I'm sure it would have been bestseller, but it was our life. Literally every school holidays, we used to go, either camping or sometimes hunting. I know, like there was a time you could hunt in the Katleng, for example. You buy a license and go hunting. We used to have parties where we tell people, we invite people to a party on Sunday. So we have a party and name an antelope, impala. And sometimes, I remember an occasion where I came from court. My husband should have packed the car for our hunting trip. So all I did was just go into the house, change my clothes, and jump into the car. I'm thinking we have everything packed. We were going to Olifant Drift. We unpacked, there's no food. He forgot to pack the food. The only thing in the cubby hole was an old potato, clearly from the last trip. The only thing. So we're thinking, at first we think it's funny because they never forget beer. They never forget alcohol. The alcohol was there. So we had, some wine, some beer. We think it's fun. Okay, tomorrow morning we kill something early in the morning. We can have a liver. 8 o'clock comes, we're walking, nothing. 9 o'clock, nothing. 10 o'clock, nothing. By this time, we're beginning to quarrel. Yesterday, you were not quarreling too much when you found there's no food. But now you say, how can you pack a car? What do you think? And we do think, we're saying things we don't have a license for. Okay, you think, should I shoot? Even though we don't have a license, it's against the law. Should I shoot? I don't think so. Finally, somebody took a crack, man. Because that liver, even before you kill the animal, you could already smell the liver. Because you're hungry by that time. So we're already giving up, packed up, we're trying to come back, and suddenly we decided, to down it. So, and then, of course, that animal was skinned so fast. Took out that liver so fast because that was the only meal we had eaten actually in 2 days. So, and after that, everything is fine. We laugh about it, that they didn't pack the food, but you can't imagine how can somebody go camping without food? There have been times where you run out of actually water, but you have wine. And I can tell you, wine can actually boil rice. Yeah. And when the kids are hungry, you think, should we drink the beer, the wine, or should we actually boil the rice for the kids? Finally, you think, you know what? Yeah, let's use the wine to actually boil a bit of rice for the kids because, this is not good. There have been times when you've forgotten you realize that you packed everything, but you don't have a frying pan. And I can tell you a spade is the best frying pan in the bush. The best. You just clean it. It's metal. You really, especially if to make gravy, it's the best, especially if it's like a scooping, like a shovel as opposed to a spade. Fantastic. You learn things when you go camping, So if you love camping, I'm sure you love this episode. And there are many, 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 many more stories, and I'm not exaggerating. In fact, probably I'm underplaying some of them. I have a friend, she actually, unfortunately passed away a few years ago. Her husband and friends went camping, long trip, long weekend trip. It's supposed to come back on Sunday. They don't come back on Sunday. They're supposed to come on Sunday so they can rest on Monday. So when they don't come back on Sunday, we think, oh, no problem. They come on Sunday, they change their mind. It was before cell phones. So they don't arrive on Monday. Monday, they're not there. We don't worry. Tuesday morning, we're going to tell the police. Look, these people went camping. Well, all I can say is that the Land Rover, the car caught on fire. By the way, most of the cars used to be able to harvest grass underneath because grass in the and then after a while it burned. But I think now manufacturers have realized it's because more than one car is burned in Botswana. So now I think there's something that stops the harvesting of grass under even higher Luxes or even Land Rovers. But that, it would harvest grass as you're driving and then it would burn and the whole car would be engulfed. So we've had a car burn, for example. The one was not it was a Mazda. It was a Mazda. Once I'm following it and immediately it's, the whole car is just engulfed with fire. So you have to put in sand and so anyway, this particular group of people, Thomas and Tonya, I think, yeah, Tonya, and I don't remember who the third person was. They were out in Kuze area, and the car caught fire. The stupid thing is that when your car caught fire, you use the little water you have to try to put out the fire. It's never enough. It's never enough to put out the fire. The best thing to do if you want to put out the fire, use sand. Don't touch your water. You will need your water because that car may, it's not, you never have enough fire water to do that. So the best thing is just to get, scoops of sand and throw it into the fire. That's better. Anyways, they tried to use fire and the water. By the time, the car, they could not put out the fire. The whole car burned down. And they start, first of all, do you walk? Walk where? Walk back? Walk front? Walk where? I mean, sometimes you think, okay, the best is to sit here, hopefully someone will come. Sometimes, or maybe there's a junction somewhere with more chance of people. Maybe yours, if you can just maybe 2 kilometers north or 5 kilometers, but there are all kinds of animals around you. And the first day, it's kind of fun, not fun, but not stressful. The second day, you're thinking, why did I come here? Yeah, let me just say what they were found 3 days later, completely tired, completely, exhausted and hungry. But I'm sure that toughened them. I'm sure they are better people because of that particular trip. But in short, this is a beautiful country. It's a large country with so many corners, so many intriguing, spaces. Go out and explore it. And thank you very much for listening. See you next time at the next episode.